And we got, oh, it's 6:30. Welcome, Lauren. Welcome, Justin. Who else I got here? Oh, just my phone.
Oh, James,
Yes.
when you open up the thing and it shows you all the different apps to select,
Yes.
what computer are you on? Are you on Windows or Mac?
Windows.
Hold down CTRL and click both that you want to share, and it shares both at once. You can select as many as you like if you hold down CTRL.
So like that.
And they'll all
Okay.
turn
Oh,
blue.
and then I can flip. Oh, you're beautiful. Woohoo! Except I need to resume share. Okay, so there's my PowerPoint. There's my file. Hey, you're awesome, Michael. Thank you. I'll go ahead and mute myself and let you conduct your thing. You let me know when you're ready for me. Otherwise, I'll just shut up.
Okay. 1 sec. And we got a little off track at the beginning, but all right, everyone. Looks like we've got a few people, probably a bunch more coming soon. It is only a couple of minutes past. Everyone's always fashionably late. So today we have James Day. He's going to be teaching us some amazing stuff. So I'm going to pass it over to James, and he can take it away as soon as he's ready.
Well, good morning, or afternoon, evening, whatever time it is. It reminds me of the Truman Show, morning, afternoon, and good night. And I'm apologize. I'm so used to having my client right there, but because that's my shared screen, I feel really weird because you all are over there, and I feel really out of sorts when I feel like I'm not looking at you. So yeah, enough said. So we've got Andy, Clarissa, Lauren, and Justin. I know Justin and Lauren, so hey, I guess I'll just kind of jump in. Basically, we're talking about taking care of the administrative side of a profitable practice. And I've got a lot of material, but I want this to be interactive. So anytime that you have a question, please just interject and stop me and ask your question, and I want to address it in the moment. If it gets out of control, which I doubt, but if it gets out of control, then I'll kind of reel it in. But this information, some of it's really dry. It's about a part of the practice that most practitioners do not like. They don't want to know it. They don't want to mess with it. And they're willing to kind of white knuckle their way through it, as it were. But they really don't like it. And so they never do it really well. And it shakes their confidence. And so they'd rather not think about it. So in this moment, if you have questions, please ask. I will gladly go in as much detail as you like. Does that make sense? And I'm sorry, I can't really see you because you're over there. So yeah, this will be fun. I'm disconcerted because of that. Bear with me and I'll figure it out. So with no further ado, everything is driven by value. Okay, so here we have the McDonald's hamburger model. And I use this as an example with all my business development clients because really people typically don't understand what the price of their product or service actually covers. And they kind of view net profit and gross revenue as these accounting terms that are out there, but they really don't want to mess with them. So everything, like with McDonald's hamburger, let's say you got the value menu, $1 hamburger. So that $1 is not just ingredients, okay? If I were to go to Walmart or Winco or Costco and buy the ingredients for myself to make a hamburger, it's going to be a whole lot less than that dollar. Why? Because everything else that goes into delivering that dollar to the customer or the hamburger to the customer has to be covered by that dollar. And a lot of people don't take the time, don't know how to do it, don't want to do it, break it out into what we call a value breakout so you know how much of that dollar covers everything that's involved. So in this example, the McDonald's hamburger model, it covers the ingredients, the ground lease, the utilities, what the cashier makes, the wage of the person who cooks it, the guy who cleans the restrooms, the insurance, the marketing, the owner's draw, the legal team, the franchise fee, and there's a lot more. I'm not actually going to break out everything because it doesn't make sense in this slide, but you get the idea that the actual breakout of that dollar goes into a whole bunch of things, a lot more than just the ingredients. So when it relates to us, don't worry, because I'm not going to have you figure all that out by yourself. You don't have to mess with those numbers. That's why I created the business X-ray, because it does it all for you. But once you understand that value breakout, you can then use what we'll talk about later called price points to figure out how much you should actually price your service at to be profitable, make sure that you make money and you know what the value is they're actually giving to your client. So I'm going to look over here for a minute. Just give me a thumbs up if that all makes sense so far. Good. And again, at any point in this, you have a question, unmute yourself. You don't need to get my attention. Just say, hey, James, I got a question about that. We good? Okay, now I'm going to come back over here where I feel like I'm looking at you. So the standard value breakout schematic for hypnotherapy, you've got overhead. Hopefully you all brought your actual overhead numbers. We'll cover that in a little bit. So if you didn't, that's fine. I'll give you what my overhead numbers are, and it's a little bit different for everyone. You got your practitioner compensation. That's the actual hypnotherapist portion. You've got your staff compensation. We'll cover that in more detail. You have your owner draw. That's what we in the commercial appraisal industry call the entrepreneurial incentive. It means the person, whether man or woman, the guy, gal, who's ever taking the risk of actually funding this enterprise, whatever it is, whether it's Walmart or a hypnotherapy practice or a car dealership or whatever, they're taking risk. The hypnotherapist is not the one taking risk. The hypnotherapist gets paid for providing the service, but the owner takes the risk of putting out this money to provide this service in the hopes that they'll actually generate enough volume of clientele back to recoup not only their expense, but also give them a profit, because that's why they started the business. So then you also have COA. Now, COA, I typically refer to as cost of acquisition, and that's relative to an actual session or a single product like the hamburger. But you also, COA refers to cost of advertising, meaning the total sum for a time period, whether that's a week or a month or a year, of all the client sessions or products of the individual cost of acquisition. So it's basically the aggregate. The two terms are used interchangeably. You'll also see it CPA, cost per acquisition. They all mean the exact same thing. And if that's all making your head spin, don't worry, you're in good company. Don't sweat it. It's just for those who care. I want to make sure that I'm in depth. Good? Okay, good. So now we've got industry standards. A lot of the staff compensation comes from industry standards. The overhead is going to vary. That's dependent on your individual practice. The practitioner comp, and this is the industry standard for all therapists, whether that's a massage therapist or a psychological counselor or a hypnotherapist or what have you, all therapists, the industry averages between 20% and 40%. Now, the number in parentheses is the number that I actually use because that is the mean average across all industries. So your practitioner compensation is 35% of what your fee is. We'll get into that more later because that really, really impacts a lot of how you view your business. Your staff compensation is strictly hourly. We'll cover that in the next slide. And then your owner draw. Industry standards across all industries is 30%. Now, you can play with that, but I was a commercial real estate appraiser for a while to where I would actually get into a business, do business valuations, and determine how profitable is this business, how much is this business worth if you were to sell it to someone else, and then they would use that appraisal to establish sales prices when they were selling a business or doing mergers or like things. And so if it's less than 30%, that's considered a marginally profitable business. If it's zero, it might be financially feasible, but it ain't profitable. That's not a good business to buy. If it's above 30%, then you have a massively profitable business. So the target industry-wide or industries-wide, regardless of what type of business, is 30%. Now, if you want in your individual practice, you're free to play with these numbers however you like, but those are the industry standards. And then your COA, COA is hugely varied. it goes anywhere from 1% all the way up to 40. And that's of gross revenue. So you're talking the price of your session. Now, industry standard, which we'll get into in a minute, is actually less than 10%. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. I use 10%, which is generous, but I think it fits the model of hypnotherapy very well. So then you got your industry standards for staff. And this is all dollars per hour. Your administrative, your secretarial, your accounting, your janitorial, your legal, and your marketing. Now, you might in your practice want to include more functions than that, but in my business development clients, those are really the only ones that I think are material to a hypnotherapy practice. The first two columns are the range of industry, and then the ones in parentheses are the ones that I use. Now, you might want to notice that legal seems a little low, because lawyers cost $150, $200 an hour. But most of the work that would be done relative to a hypnotherapy practice is not done by a lawyer, but by a paralegal, which is paid at a much lower rate. Does that make sense? Checking my windows over here. Good. Okay, great. So now, these are the number of hours per session, per client session, that you can attribute to these various activities. These are my general estimates. These are what I have generally found to be true in my practice. And you are free to play with these numbers however you like to see how it plays out. But it really doesn't impact a whole lot except for the legal. But you can see the legal is 0.01 hours because there's not a whole lot of legal stuff involved in a hypnotherapy practice. I include it because it is there. And all of this, basically, I use 0.91 hours per client session is done in these staff functions outside of session. Tracking? Good? Okay. Anyone want to raise your hand if you want to cover that in any more detail? Okay, good. So now, industry standards for COA. Again, COA is cost of acquisition or cost of advertising, blank there. For COA, the overall mean average across all industries is 5% to 8% of gross revenue. Now, for us, gross revenue means the price I'm charging the client, okay? And that's regardless of the method of calculation, and there are ridiculous methods of calculation out there, and you can get really simple or you can get really complex, but regardless of method, it's 5% to 8% is the overall mean average. Now, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, recommends 7 to 8% of gross revenue if the gross revenue is less than $5 million a year, which is us, okay? If you're doing more than $5 million a year in client sales, you don't need me, you're doing awesome. So yeah, that's us. And net profit, which is the owner draw, is at least 10%, okay? So you see that I use a 10%, or I use a target of 10% COA. So I am more generous than both the average and what the SBA recommends. Okay, so I am more generous in your advertising than what the industries say you should be. I think it's safe. I think it fits the model, but you're free to do with that however you like. Does that make sense? Tracking? Good. Okay. So now back to the McDonald's hamburger model applied to hypnotherapy. Your price point is going to be whatever you're actually charging the client, and that will vary. Your overhead's going to be constant because regardless of how many client sessions you perform, you got the same overhead. Your staff compensation is not a function of overhead because that fluctuates depending on how many sessions you provide. But it still is going to be constant per session because it's a set number of hours. So really the only things that fluctuate up and down with your price point are your practitioner pay, which is a percentage, your owner's draw, which is a percentage, and your cost of acquisition, which is a percentage. Your minimum price point is determined by your specific value breakout. And that's part of what your business x-ray will provide. Your maximum price point is technically unlimited. For example, Tony Robbins has a price point of $5,000 per hypnotherapy session. Okay. Now, if you want to charge $5,000 and you think you can get it, more power to you. I don't go that high. I set it as an arbitrary maximum of $200, but it's generally set by the market. So revenue versus net income. Okay. Gross income versus net income. What you make, and this is very, very important, what you make as an individual has nothing to do with what your business makes. What you make as an individual has nothing to do with what your business makes. What you make as an individual is based on what functions you perform. Okay, tracking? Good. Oops.
Can you explain that? I'm not tracking with that.
Yeah. Okay. So you have the business that provides the service and provides everything to do with the service. So let's say I'm a massage therapist. We'll put this into an industry that is more widely known. If I'm a massage therapist and I go down and I get employed by Massage Envy, they say, we'll provide your overhead, we'll provide your facilities, we'll take care of your liability insurance, maybe not your professional insurance, but your business liability insurance. We'll provide all of the advertising. You come in, we book the client, you massage the client, we pay you a percentage. Tracking that. Good?
Right.
Okay. So then if the business makes a profit, great for them. If the business takes a loss, oh well. As a massage therapist, I'm still making my hourly pay.
Right.
Tracking
Okay.
that?
Okay. Yeah.
Now,
But
go ahead.
in this case, aren't we? Most of us are just self-employed, right? So we would.
Yes, but it's based off of the function that you perform. So if you're performing the therapy, a part of that value breakout goes to the therapist. You just happen to be the therapist. If you are performing the secretarial functions, a portion of that value breakout pays the secretary. You just happen to be the secretary. Okay.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you make as an individual has nothing to do with whether or not your business makes money. That's a function of owner draw. So if you are performing the function of the owner, you are making the decisions of marketing and how you're pricing the service, then you get the reward of profit as a function of your efficiency. Does that make sense? Okay. So what you make as an individual, second line on here, is based on what functions you perform. Ready to move on? Okay. So just like a McDonald's customer pays for more than just ingredients, you notice that red line right there? That's the ingredients. If I were to walk my happy self down to Walmart and I were to buy some hamburger buns and a couple patties and some tomatoes and cheese and I would put it all on the bun, build them out and grill, that's going to cost me the ingredients. But what I'm paying for as a customer is more than just ingredients. Your client pays for more than just therapy. They are paying for your overhead. They are paying for your staff. They are paying 35% to the practitioner, the therapist. They are paying the owner's draw, which is the function of profit and efficiency, and they are paying the cost of acquisition. The actual therapy is only about 1/3 of the price that the client pays. Tracking that. Okay, now, one of the reasons that that's incredibly important, we deal a lot not only with ourselves as hypnotherapists, as practitioners, but also with clients, specifically because we're hypnotherapists, dealing with imposter syndrome. You heard that phrase? Because if I'm charging my client $150 a session, and I don't feel like my therapy is worth $150 a session, I'm absolutely right. My therapy is only worth $50 a session, even though I'm charging the client $150. You tracking that? That $1 McDonald's value menu hamburger is not worth $1. That's only worth about 1/3 of the dollar. The other 65 cents goes to the overhead and the marketing and the cashier's wage, the cook's wage and the janitor's wage and all of that. Track it. Okay. Now you also look at, if you go out to McDonald's and you buy a hamburger for $1, you could also go to Applebee's or JB's, or I don't know what chain is there in LA. Applebee's is popular up here in Idaho. For that same $1, okay, it's going to be a little bigger. It's going to be on a nice plate. You're going to have more napkins and everything, and you're going to get a nice glass instead of a cup, a paper cup for your drinks. But you're going to pay $10 for that hamburger. You're going to pay 10 times more for the same concept of a hamburger at Applebee's than you are for a McDonald's. Does that mean that their hamburger is actually worth more? No, because you're paying for environment. You're paying for service. You're paying for more than just the ingredients. You tracking that? Okay, it's a higher value to you. And we'll talk about more of that later. Okay, so then revenue versus net income continued. If you perform the therapy, you make the practitioner compensation. If you perform the staff functions, you make the staff compensation. If you make the business decisions, you make the owner draw. And then again, that's where profit and loss shows up. Tracking? Okay. So net income, you have limited time. And therefore, you want to perform those actions that pay you the most money. Captain Obvious. When you're building your practice, you perform all functions because you have the time to do so. But once you max out your time, you choose whatever functions pay the most per hour to do yourself, and then pay someone else to do the functions that pay less per hour. Does that make sense? Okay. But in the beginning, it's a function of time. So maximizing your net income. When you perform all functions, you make practitioner comp, staff comp, and owner draw. When you max your hours, the practitioner comp pays more than staff comp. So you make practitioner comp and owner draw and pay someone else to do the staff functions because you make more per hour. So you spend your hours doing more profitable things. Okay. But you need to know how much of your fee goes to those staff functions so you know how much to pay someone else and you know when to change from doing it yourself to paying someone else. You tracking that? Okay. So at this point, a lot of people start to glaze over. So wake up and don't sweat it because now we're getting into something that actually makes a difference in what you do. All of that was background. Enough of the numbers. The first step is knowing your price points, which you get from your business x-ray. So here's where you want to take some notes, and you really do want to write this down, okay? In the military, the drill sergeant would be stomping their foot right now. You might want to take notes. You want to take notes. Revenue is a function of two things: price point and volume. Price point is how much you're charging the client. Volume is how many clients you have. So for example, for ease of math, if I'm charging $10 a session and I have 10 clients, then I have $100 of revenue, okay? Now, price point is a function of value. That's how good you are as a practitioner. The ingredients of a McDonald's hamburger and the ingredients of an Applebee's hamburger are pretty much the same, but Applebee's charges 10 times that of a McDonald's hamburger because it's a better value. Now, volume is a function of marketing. That is how good you are at connecting with your audience. Okay, so you set your initial price point in direct proportion to your need for immediate income. And the more you need immediate income, the lower your price point should be. And you will see, I'm setting you up now. Don't be scared when I show you your baseline price point. It's ridiculously low, but you still make money, and good money at that. And I will show that to you. Just don't be scared. So aside from the factor of value, though, a lower price attracts higher volume. If I'm selling a Mercedes-Benz for 40 grand, I am not going to get as many customers as if I'm selling the same Mercedes-Benz for 10 grand. Okay. You're going to have a lot more people say, yeah, I'll take the Mercedes for 10 than you will for 40. Track it. Okay. So you do not increase your price point until you fill your practice. Your target price point is your MSRP, your manufacturer's suggested retail price, as it were, and your current price represents your discount from your target price. So if I believe that my rate is $150 an hour, and that's my target rate, and I'm only charging $50 an hour, then I have a 66% discount. No one ever actually charges MSRP in regular markets because they always like to tell you the discount. Well, that's essentially what they're doing. The target price is the MSRP, and then I will lower that to capture more sales and increase my volume. Tracking? Okay. So you also do not offer discounts below your current price point. The difference between your target and your current price point is your discount. Do not discount below that. So filling your practice. Once you know your price point, your main objective is to fill your practice. In other words, I am now at maximum capacity for my clients. I cannot take more clients. My practice is full. I have a waiting list and you can join it, but you ain't getting a schedule today. Okay, you ain't scheduling an appointment today. Filling your practice is mostly time management and direction. So this is how you decide how to divide your time. Clients first, because they drive everything. If you have a client, you're servicing that client. Admin second, that means what you're doing to actually support that client session. And then marketing and CE. CE is continuing education. Marketing is a function of the owner, okay? and CE is a function of the therapist. We'll get into that more. And again, this is basically what I just said. Client appointments come first. Start by scheduling start your schedule here. Second, the functions necessary for those client appointments come second. Fill your schedule with whatever is necessary on the admin side, the secretary, the accounting, the billing, all of that, to provide those services to your clients. Make sure you stay up on that. Third, you divide the rest of your time, what I call your non-client hours, with the staff functions. I'm sorry, not the staff functions, that's admin, with the marketing and increasing your quality as a therapist, marketing and continuing education. And always work your maximum hours every week. Now, from my own experience, your optimum hours are 75% of maximum capacity. Do not try to work your maximum hours with clients. Don't do it, because inevitably something will happen, an emergency, someone's sick, COVID shutdown, all kinds of things. Life will throw you a curveball. And if you do not have additional time in your schedule to handle that extra workload, you will die. Okay, maybe not physically, but you will suffer in reputation. You will suffer in client respect. You will suffer in your profitability, and it may put you out of business. So 75% of your maximum capacity is your optimum workload. We tracking that? Okay. Now, volume first. If you don't have a full practice yet, your primary goal is gaining more clients. So in your non-client hours, you spend 60 to 80% on marketing, which is connecting with your audience to increase volume, and 20 to 40% of your non-client time on continuing education, meaning I'm getting better as a therapist. I am increasing my quality. You always do both, always, and forever. But when you're working on volume, 60 to 80% of your time is on connecting with your audience, and only 20 to 40% of your non-client hours is on getting better as a therapist. Then quality comes second. Once you have a full practice, that flips, and your primary goal is increasing your price point. And 60, 80% of your non-client time is on continuing education, getting better as a therapist, and 20 to 40% of your time is spent on marketing. We track it. Okay. So now, boiling the lobster. And I use this example in that you are moving upward in your price point, and you will naturally be uncomfortable charging a premium for your service before you believe you are actually worth that value. And so just like if you throw a lobster into a boiling pot of water, it will jump right out again. So will you. So we put the lobster in the water at a very low temperature, and then we slowly increase the temperature, and the lobster happily acclimates to the temperature. The same thing with you as a therapist. We throw you in at a low price point, so you are very comfortable with providing your service at that price point. And then we slowly increase it, and you acclimate at each price point. Tracking? Okay. Now it's time for a business x-ray. Here's an example of a visual representation of my business x-ray. These are actual numbers for my practice. And you can see there's a lot to explain on here, and I'm really not sure how in depth to go in showing you what's here. So by all means, unmute, ask questions. I don't want to bore you with this, but I don't want to gloss over something that's important. The things that I do want you to know is this is your price point. So this is based off of this up here in the left-hand corner is at $200 a session. That is my maximum price point that I set for hypnotherapy. You can go above that if you want, and if you do, more power to you. But I believe the industry standard, that's going to be your maximum price point. It's also reflected here on this chart. And as you can see, I can select all the various different price points that are here. Now, at this point, I'm making $17,000 a month net. That is net profit. That is what I'm actually taking home as an individual. That is not what my business makes, okay? Which equates to $211,000 a year net profit, working 26 hours a week. Now, if I can show you how to use this to build a practice working 26 hours a week where you bring $200,000 net a year, is that a good thing? Okay, Would you buy the value of what this is showing you? Okay. I'm setting you up because I'm about to show you the beginning price point, and you're going to go, James, I ain't working for that little. Okay. I understand. Now, as a hypnotherapist, I'm making $7,800 a month and $93,000 a year. I'm paying staff to do those functions. And I'm taking the owner draw of $9,800 a month and $117,000 a year for taking the risk and putting forth the effort of actually providing this practice to the public. So this is your hypnotherapist pay. This is your owner draw. This is your total comp. This red is your staff. This is your cost of acquisition. And this is your overhead. So now I will animate this for you so you can see everything grow. And I'll show you this multiple times because there's a lot to see. But like we know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I'm going to shut up and let you watch. That's where you start. And you can see it grow. Okay, now that you've seen it once, I'll point out a couple things that I'll think you'll want to pay attention to, and then I'll let you see it a couple more times. Okay, so we go forward to our lowest price point. What's that price point? $34.78 a session. That's actually my initial price point. Okay, I'm charging the client $35 for an hour of hypnotherapy. I'm making $17 an hour. Okay. But I'm also netting 45 grand a year at that price point. Do you see how offering a price point of $35 a session for hypnotherapy, I could gain a full schedule of clients? And if I do so, I am netting $45,000 a year. You see that? Okay. Now, I'm not making anything as the owner because that is literally the lowest price that I can actually cover my overhead and practitioner pay and staff pay with, okay? And I have no COA. I'm also working 50 hours a week. I end up 26 hours a week, making $157 an hour. I fill my practice because it makes me money. Then I increase. So now at some point, this changes down to 26 hours a week. Now watching it again, see how that functions. Okay. Then we also have this over here, the price break point. That price is the cost of the session at which my hypnotherapy pay is more than my staff pay. And it's at that point that I stop doing those staff functions and I hire someone else to do those staff functions. We track it. Okay, so let's set it at that break point. $58. Right there. Okay, so it's actually $61 based off of the price points that I set. And you can see as a hypnotherapist, I'm making $21 per session, but as staff, I'd only be making $20.50. So I farm that out at that point, at that price point, and I make this, and I keep the owner draw. And at that point, I'm making the same $45,000 a year, but I'm only working 26 hours a week. And I'm making $32 an hour. Okay. And then we continue that forward. And I think that a lot of therapists target $100 for a session. Okay. At that point, I'm making $89,000 a year, working 26 hours a week and making $67 an hour. And that's net profit. That is not gross revenue. That is dollars in my pocket. Thank you very much. Everything else is covered. Does that make sense? Yes.
How many is the weekly hours? How many clients you see?
Yes, that would be 26 clients a week, 26 therapist hours. Staff hours are on top of that, but I ain't doing that. So I don't care how long it takes. I just care how much it costs. I'm paying someone 27 grand a year, or people a total of 27 grand a year to do those staff functions for me. I'm getting the hypnotherapist pay because I'm providing the therapy, and I get the owner draw for providing a profitable model. And that equals the $89,000 a year. Tracking. Okay. Another common price point is 150. And we'll go down to 145. At that, I'm making $145,000 a year. Working 26 hours a week, making $100 an hour. And I'm paying someone that same $27,000 a year to do the staff functions. Anyone want to see that full animation again now, or is that good? You want to see that again? Okay. Tracking? Okay. One final thing I'll say about this before moving on is it's easy to fill a practice at a really low price point. Once you have a full practice, you have all of the testimonials you need, you have all of the reviews you need, you have all of the income that you need at 45 grand a year to cover your overhead, and it's very easy to then incrementally increase those price points. It's very, very easy to go from $34.78 a session to $38. Your clients ain't even going to care. They're like, okay, fine. Going to 42, who cares? 46, now they might start to care. But by incrementally, each price point, filling your practice at each price point, it's boiling the lobster for the clients as well. And coming back down here at my initial price point, do you think that any graduate from HMI would feel like an imposter charging $12.17 for an hour of therapy? I would expect not. Yeah, someone, you pay me 12 bucks an hour for therapy. Sure, I do practice clients for more than that, okay? It helps with that imposter syndrome because you're boiling the lobster for your own quality. Okay, ready to move on, or you want to see it again?
Quick, couple of questions.
Yes.
So you're saying they're charging for you said the $12, but you're technically charging the client $35.
Yes,
right?
The client pays $35. The hypnotherapist portion is 12 bucks. That's the actual
Right.
ingredients of the McDonald's hamburger. That's the actual therapy they're receiving. Everything
Right.
else goes to the other functions.
Right. So
Right.
wouldn't in the mind of the therapist they're charging the 35? You kind of have to like compartmentalize in your
Yes.
mind to,
Yes, which is
Yeah.
one of the big differences between a sole practitioner and someone who owns a practice and hires therapists into their practice. Because think of it from the standpoint of the owner. Think, I am not a hypnotherapist. I am simply owning a business. I own the clinic and I am hiring hypnotherapists. I am not going to pay the hypnotherapist what I'm charging the client.
Right.
You
Right.
as
Okay.
the owner have to think about it the exact same way because the therapy costs the same. You're just performing more roles. Tracking?
Yeah. Second question. I don't know if you already covered this and I maybe missed it, but at what point do you start to gradually increase the price points? Like, how do you know when to increase it?
Okay, here's my weekly hours. Now, the weekly hours, stop it. The weekly hours is a combination of my optimum workload is 75% of that 50. Okay. And then that 75%, which is 35 hours, I think. Let's see. So 50 equals that. I have it broken out later, times 0.75. Yeah, so round up to 38 hours. Okay. But there's an hour for the hypnotherapist, and there's 0.91 hours for the staff, which means that I'm working 1.91 hours for every client session, okay? Which means my number of sessions is the number of hours I work divided by the hours it takes to do it. So that's basically 19 sessions a week. So at the point that I have 19 clients a week, I increase my price point. Okay. And all of that is shown to you in this. This is what I'll actually email to you. Okay. So this is for a single service. 34 all the way up to 200. I'm working 1.91 hours. Here's my price break point where I go down to working 1 hour and I'm farming out. Green is compensation I receive. White is not. Okay. So you see the hours, the dollars per hour goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up. My compensation per session goes down right here. Okay. For a couple price points. But I'm also doing more sessions per week. Okay. So we come down here. This is weekly. This is my compensation. So I'm doing 26 sessions a week here and 75% is it. I calculated that slightly wrong. 26 sessions per week. It just happens that with 50 in my 25
Are we supposed to be seeing a different screen right now?
Oh,
Because
that's right. Because I'm so oh yeah, because it doesn't share. Thank you. Thank you. Let's do, okay, how did we do that? Shift? Nope, control. Okay, there we go. Now you should see it. Woohoo! There it is. Okay, sorry. I'll come back. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so all the green is comp. That's what I'm actually making. And you can see right here, the staff total changes from green to white. I am not making the white. I'm paying someone else to do the white. Okay. I'm working 1.91 hours per session here, only 1 hour per session there. My dollars per hour goes up the entire time. This one is the weekly. You got the price break point where it changes from light green to blue. And this is my weekly compensation. It does dip down a little bit here between $56 a session until $82 a session. But I'm also working fewer hours. So I'm still making more per hour because you see my dollars per hour goes up. Here's your monthly pay. At my price break point, I'm still making $3,600 a month at the point where I drop from 214 hours per month to 112 hours per month. Okay. And then annually, same thing. And then the percentages. The percentage of the hypnotherapist is straight 35%. Staff total goes down and down and down and down and down and down and down. Overhead goes down and down and down and down and down and down and down. Owner goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And then compensation goes down goes down and then up. And COA caps at 10%. And again, I'm going to email this PDF to you for you to see for your actual price points. Any questions with that? Okay. So now we come back to the business x-ray and there we go. Yep, we actually are showing. So let's give you your business x-ray. So let's reset this. Boom. So we'll start with Jessica and SAETHANG. What's a good email address to send this to? Sorry, you muted.
jsaything@gmail.com.
Wow, spell it right. Okay. And what's your maximum hours you want to work a week?
So this includes client and staff?
Yep, this is the maximum hours you want to work a week.
Yeah, 50 is fine. Right
Okay,
now, yeah.
And desired, 75% of max once you're just the hypnotherapist?
30.
Okay, 30.
30.
Okay, good. And what's your estimated overhead? I can itemize it for you if you want. And in fact, we'll just do that real quick. So this is my overhead. This is literally my overhead for my practice. My AHA dues, $179 a year. I've got a bank fee in here of $5 a month. You can include that if you want. I don't care. I also do a BNI membership of $700 a year. You can include that if you want. My domain, I actually pay for a full domain and hosting of $175 a year. I estimate that I use about $10 a month in electricity. I got my hypnotherapist union dues of $319 a year. My internet connection cost me $66 a month. My liability insurance cost me $175 a year. Light bulbs, because these are expensive light bulbs, I estimate $30 a year. My phone bill, I run 13 different businesses, and so what I would actually attribute to the hypnotherapy practice is $30 a month. My simple practice, which is my telehealth platform, is $60 a month. Then I do tax software. I use TurboTax, and a corporate return is about $150. I also use ZipFizz because I like to stay awake at different times of the day. So I include that at $30 a month. And then I pay for Zoom Pro, which is $15 a month. And that totals $55 a week, not a month. My annual total is, yeah, $2,000, $2,800 a year. And my monthly is $237. That's my overhead. So if you just want to use that number, that's totally fine with me. If you want to use different numbers, just tell me what your estimate is.
No, that's fine. I'll use that. What's ZipFizz?
ZipFizz, it's basically an energy drink.
Okay. Okay.
And I intentionally want to make sure that I'm always alert for a client, so I keep that on hand.
Okay.
Okay. So those numbers look good to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have to write the overhead in there?
No, if you're just using mine, it defaults to mine. Okay, so there and I'm also emailing you the entire presentation, so you can have everything that you see on the screen through there at the presentation. I just emailed that to you. You want to see your animation?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's going to be exactly the same. Oh, no, it does. You did drop down to 30. So it starts at the same price point. You're working fewer hours per week now, 23 instead of 26. And so you would cap out at $200 price point at $186,000 a year. Now, if you wanted to work more hours per week, obviously you're going to make more, but working 23 hours a week for $186,000 a year ain't bad. Good? Okay. So next is Lauren and Vandergrift. Did I spell that right?
Yes.
Okay. And what's a good email address for this to be sent to?
LNV healingarts@gmail.
Right there?
Yes.
Okay. And maximum hours per week?
I would say 50.
50. Desired?
26 is good.
I mean, what she saw? Because it's 75% of max.
Yeah, I want my max to be 26.
Okay. So max is 26. And estimated monthly overhead? You want to use mine? You want to use yours?
It's probably like 12,000 because I have an office.
Okay. And that's per month?
No, year.
A year. Okay. So 1,000 a month?
Yep.
Okay. Good. Let's run her. So there, just emailed that to you.
Thank you. This is great, by the way.
Thank you. Up until the point where it's not taking your overhead. Why is it not taking your overhead? Why is it not taking your overhead? This is not what we wanted to have happen. Oh, that's why. Ha. There you go. Now we'll recalculate. Oh, stop it. Fine, we'll just do this. Reset. There we go. Now it's your real price points. There we go. Your initial price point is $45.21. That looks a
Okay.
lot better. I knew it was not going to be the same. Hey, Steve. Okay. So there you go. You're going to max out your comp at 152,000 a year. That's net, not gross. That's net.
Okay.
As a hypnotherapist, you're making 72, and as an owner, you're drawing 80 with that amount of overhead. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to see in there again?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for emailing this to me.
Sure. Okay, so now we've got Justin. Good email address?
Redeem your reality. And that's all. There's 2 R's there, yeah.
Good.
At gmail.com.
Gmail.com. And max hours?
This is hypnotherapy hours, right?
Yes. Well, this is the max hours you want to work a week.
60.
Okay. And desired hours?
30.
30. Okay. And overhead?
If we can use yours.
Okay. Why are you doing this? Okay, let's try that again. It shouldn't be a problem. Pardon me. You have no idea how many times I ran this in different scenarios to make sure that this was not a problem. Okay. There. We'll just find not default it. There we go. So there's that to you. Your price point is $34.24. You can go a little bit lower, but at that, you're making 51 grand a year. Okay. Okay, and you cap out 186,000 a year, working 23 hours a week. Okay, good. Okay, let's reset that and move this back up here because I feel out of place. There we go. Okay, so Steve, we'll go to Clarissa.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So it's Clarissa2 and Clarissa2therapy at gmail.com.
And max hours per week?
I could do 50.
Okay. Desired hours per
Desired
week?
work hours. 25.
Okay. And
And I'll just use yours.
Just mine? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There, that's going to email to you. And
Okay,
your price
thank
point,
you.
$34.78. And you'll probably, well, rather than guess, I'll just run it. Okay, so you cap out at 150,000 a year, working 19 hours a week. Okay.
Okay.
And Steve, do you want to run one? You're not there. I can catch you another time. Okay, we can run it for you if you come back. Okay, so now we have, back to this. So now scheduling your hours. This is where you actually use that information to make sure that you are maximizing your time and maximizing your profit. So first, you do direct client hours. So you schedule that first. Then come your indirect client hours. That's your staff functions. Then 60 to 80% in workshops, which is not you like presenting workshops for others. It's just literally what I call them. You do workshops with yourself for the various functions of your marketing. Then you have 20 to 40% of your remaining hours in your continuing education. Again, just kind of review. And that's before you have a full practice. After you have a full practice, exact same thing, except that CE and your marketing are flipped. You spend the majority of your time improving your quality to increase your price point, and the remainder of your time working on your marketing and advertising, because you never, ever, 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 ever stop doing that, or you will become obsolete and wake up to being behind. So you just always do hours. And I'll show you exactly what those look like in actual numbers in a minute. Any questions so far? Okay. Steve, did you want me to run a quick business x-ray for you?
Well, I don't really have a business at this point, so there's nothing for you to x-ray.
Okay, we'll cover that later.
Thanks.
Okay, so after your price break point, this is where you stop doing the staff functions. And you notice literally number 2 is gone. You no longer do number 2. You only take care of clients, spend 60 to 80% of your time in CE, meaning you're getting better and increasing your quality as a therapist, and 20 to 40% in working on these workshops and advertising to make sure that you are continuing to increase your efficiency. Okay. So marketing versus advertising. And I know Jessica has a background in advertising. And so this is my opinion. And she and I have already talked about this. So I know that she's going to be kind to me, but a lot of what I say here may be very different than what you hear from other people in the marketing industry. Okay. All advertising is marketing, but not all marketing is advertising. Okay. Advertising is the direct invitation to a given audience to engage with a specific company, product, or service. Whereas marketing is the process of creating and delivering content to an audience. Sometimes that includes advertising. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay. And again, anytime in here where you want to just stop and ask a question, feel free. But I'm not going to stop on every slide. I'll pause. But if I miss something, you want to go back, just interrupt me and I'll gladly go back to any slide. So your weekly marketing time. Once you have your initial price point, your primary non-client activity is marketing and should constitute 60 to 80% of your non-client work hours every week. Okay. That marketing activity should follow a specific sequence of development and is best performed in a series of what I call self-directed workshops. The first one is a workshop on your service. That is where you understand the service from a marketing perspective of what you are delivering to your client. Then you do a workshop on your brand, a workshop on your clients, and that's different than what most people think it is, a workshop on your audience, a workshop on your marketing, which is kind of redundant, but it makes sense once I get into it, and then a workshop on your actual advertising. So the workshop on your service. This workshop is where you examine and write out in explicit detail exactly what you provide to the client. And yes, actually take the time to write this out. You understand this as a therapist. You need to be able to express it as a marketer. So you want to write it out. You can think of it as writing a user manual for what you want a new client to know about what they can expect from your service from beginning to end. It includes all of the benefits and features of your service in great detail. There's an important difference between benefits and features, and if you want to understand that, study Tom Hopkins. I don't have time to cover it here. At least I'm not going to take the time. But yes, write it all out. So marketing workshop on your brand. This is not branding. Creating your brand is not the same as branding, even though those two terms are kicked around relatively synonymously by a lot of people. Okay. You do not care about branding until you completely graduate from the practitioner role and move solely into being an owner who doesn't directly interact with clients. Okay. That's not you yet, and probably not ever, but at least certainly not for a seriously long yet. As long as you are the practitioner, you do not care about branding, and I'll explain why. Your brand is your identity. Branding is the social phenomenon of getting your brand universally recognized. Okay, it's a function of ownership going into market share and not a function of either volume or quality. Okay, a brand is literally an NLP anchor. That is what you are creating. And as such, it can be anything. Okay, it doesn't really matter at all what your brand is, because an NLP anchor can be anything. To be the most efficient in later branding, again, which you don't care about at the moment, it should incorporate common associations that your audience already has to your service, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. But do not spend a lot of time designing your brand. Yes, create one, but the elements of your brand are really unimportant, okay? This is my brand. It's a circle with whatever that man is. I forget. I've been spacing on the term all day. You guys know what I'm talking about, even if I can't remember the name. It's got the Western symbol of medicine. It's got an Eastern symbol. My director of massage therapy designed this, and so I don't know whether that actually means something or not. And if it does mean something, I don't know what it is. But it really doesn't matter to me, because it's just a symbol. And it's the American Academy of Integrated Therapies. So we integrate Western and Eastern thought. That's what I care about. It's the American. So we have red, white, and blue. So some thought has gone into it, but it really doesn't matter. Okay. Also, part of my brand is the way that my letters are. It's the font. I want consistency. It's nothing more than my identity. For example, you have all these symbols, and some of them are pretty simple. But it really doesn't matter what your brand is, because it can be anything. The idea is that you can look at each of these and you know what they represent. I mean, you may not know what some of them actually represent, but if you could tell that only one of those is my brand, you only need to be able to identify my brand as my brand in a market of brands. Does that make sense? Okay. So you do a marketing workshop on your brand. All you're really doing in this self-conducted workshop is deciding on what you're going to use as your brand, and then creating the necessary templates to be able to be consistent in using your brand. And again, I can provide more detail here, but it's literally the least element of that we cover today. So if you want more, let me know outside the workshop, because do not spend a lot of time on it. So just to wrap up, this is a brand. Your brand is your business identity. This is branding, okay? Branding is imprinting your business identity on the minds of the public, okay? That's the difference between a brand and branding. While you are a practitioner, all you care about is simply creating your basic identity, your brand, for the purposes of consistency. That's it, nothing more. Contrary to a lot of conventional wisdom in the marketing industry, I get contacted probably 3 or 4 times a week by marketing companies, and all, most of them, the first thing out of their mouth is, you can give us $3,000 to $5,000 to create your brand. No, do not spend any money on creating your brand. Trust me, you do not care. Imprinting that identity on the minds of the public, branding, is a very expensive and large-scale project that is completely irrelevant until you are competing for market share. And you will never be competing for market share until you have moved completely into the ownership role and are no longer an active practitioner. Branding is solely a function of expansion in order to capture market share once you have multiple practitioners. Again, right now, that's not you. Do not even worry about it, because market share is completely irrelevant to a sole practitioner and does not affect you in the least degree. Okay, so marketing workshop on your clients. Identifying your clients is not about your clients. Identifying your clients is about pain points. Do not focus on who your clients are. Who your clients are is a function of defining your audience, which comes later. But knowing your clients is all about one thing and one thing only: pain points. So what's a pain point? A pain point is a problem that motivates the individual to want help. I really, really want to go into a lot of details on here because I think this is absolutely critical to effective everything, like from marketing, advertising, sales, closing, influence, client buy-in, business relationship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, ad nauseum. But as much as I want to, pain points is truly its own series of presentations, so I'm not going to. The whole courses of instruction are literally dedicated to this topic, and there's no way I'm going to have the necessary time to cover it here. So suffice for now to say, pain points are the reason that motivate a client to want help, not to want your service. Once you fully understand that distinction, marketing becomes dramatically easier. So again, this is worthy of its own series, but in ridiculously brief presentation, you have the 3-step sales process. I spent a number of years as a corporate sales trainer and built whole training programs around this 3-step sales process. The first step is build rapport. Second is you identify the client's or the prospect's emotional programming. Now, for us, that's a little easier because that's a lot about EMP, okay? But you identify the emotional programming. Third, you present information that's consistent with emotional programming, okay? Effective marketing is found mostly in steps 1 and 2 of build rapport and identify emotional programming. Effective advertising is all about step 3. Now, the third step can be broken down into the first steps of the 4-step process of all human learning, and that is visualize and emotionalize. The last 2 being internalize and realize. But that emotionalize and realize happens to be, by absolutely no coincidence whatsoever, the exact same process as hypnotherapy. You get the client to visualize and emotionalize. That is hypnotherapy, because they are really truly the exact same thing. The first 2 steps of effective advertising are the exact same thing as the first 2 steps of effective hypnotherapy. Get your client or your prospect to visualize and emotionalize. And I believe that most people, hypnotherapists definitely included, never realize or understand that very critical connection, okay? So when you advertise, people are learning about your service. So to be effective in your advertising, you want people to be in a learning state. And what is a learning state? Yeah. Hypnosis is a learning state. So you are literally putting your prospect in hypnosis with effective advertising. Effective marketing. Okay, so marketing workshop on your audience. Effective marketing is all about touches. And the magic number is 7. The adage is it takes 7 touches to get a client. And lots of industries use numbers between 5 and 12, and it doesn't really matter where you are between 5 and 12. It really, if you use the number 7, you cover all your bases. The average real estate deal fails 7 times. It takes an average of 10 no's to get 1 yes in direct sales. You know, you have to, the average business transaction gets rejected 7 times. It's all about touches. You will get more clients touching 20 people 7 times than you will get touching 1,000 people 4 times, or even all 325 million people in the United States once. It's not about the number of people you touch. It's about the number of times you touch them. It's not about reach. If you've done anything with Facebook ads, they're big on reach. It's not about reach. It's about touching each person 7 times, okay? So what's a touch? A touch is every time someone comes in contact with your brand, whether that's an ad, a Facebook post, a live conversation, or any other form of contact. You need to touch them 7 times. If you spend effort, time, or money to touch someone, but only touch them once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, or even 6 times, then it's a waste, period. If you do not touch them 7 times, it's wasted effort. To ensure then that your efforts touch people 7 times, those efforts need to be very concentrated. You want to narrow your audience as much as possible in order to concentrate your brand's touches to the fewest number of people. Therefore, defining your target audience is not about knowing who wants your service or who can benefit from your service. It's about knowing what segment of the population has the highest density of pain points. You're not targeting people. You're targeting pain points. To illustrate this point, no pun intended, I need a volunteer to play a game. So who's going to be my nice volunteer to play a game? It's an easy, fun game. Okay, Steve. Here are the rules of the game. It's a game of touch tag. You have 14 touches to play. You can play a touch by tagging someone with it. You tag someone with a touch by saying their name out loud. You can tag the same person with as many touches as you want, and you can tag as many people with touches as you want. You can only play each touch once, and you get 1 point for every time you tag the same person with 7 touches. You win by getting as many points as possible. You ready?
I'm sorry to say I don't understand.
Okay. You have 14 touches you can play. That's 14. There, 14.
Yeah, but
You
how
have
do I touch? I click on their square in Zoom. What are you talking about?
You tag someone with a touch by saying their name out loud. So you choose someone in the Zoom session with us, and you say their name, and that tags them with a touch.
All right. So Michael.
Okay, go. So that's 1. Michael.
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 Michael. Michael. Michael. Michael. There. That's 7.
That's 7. You have 7 more. Who are you going to tag?
Lauren. Lauren.
Did you do 7? Okay, so yeah.
I think it was 7. I was counting.
Yeah. You get the idea. To win the game, you didn't touch as many people as possible.
Right.
It wasn't about reach. You concentrated your touches, hopefully, and you did, on only 2 people, touching each person 7 times for 2 points. So you win. You got 2 points. It's the same with your marketing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you touch 20 people 7 times, that's 140 touches. And if 10 of those people experience your targeted pain points, you will get a better return on your advertising efforts than if you touch 100 people 7 times and 40 of those people experience your targeted pain points.
So say that again.
Okay. If you touch 20 people 7 times and 10 of those people experience your targeted pain points, you will get a better return than if you touch 100 people 7 times and 40 of those people experience your targeted pain points. You may get 4 times more clients out of the audience of 100, but at a lower ROI because you're touching 4 or 5 times more. It costs you 5 times more to touch them. You're getting 4 times more at 5 times the cost. See that?
Yeah.
So you really want to narrow to the densest pain point population. Okay. In the beginning, you're advertising with your personal presence, meaning you're not paying for advertising. You are personally engaging with your audience with your presence. Okay. You are not paying. You are the advertising, and you're paying for that advertising with your time. Your time is limited, and ROI on time is very precious. Know your audience with the highest density of pain points. But once you have enough gross revenue to justify spending money on advertising, your COA, prudent COA still caps at 10%, which means that if you charge $50 for a session, your advertising cost to that client cannot exceed $5. So even then, your money is limited, and ROI on money is very precious. So no matter where you are in your practice, know your audience with the highest density of pain points and touch them 7 times before you expand that audience at any level of your practice. Tracking? Okay. So marketing on marketing. Again, it's kind of redundant, but I don't know what to call it. So marketing is the process of designing and delivering content to an audience. Marketing is the function of a marketer. Again, Captain Obvious. Therefore, marketing is not a function of COA. Advertising is, but marketing is not. Marketing is a function of staff compensation because marketing is a function of a marketer. You are paying someone to create content and then deliver it. The advertising is the actual delivery. Okay. So your marketing workshop on marketing is where you design exactly what content to deliver and decide how you want to deliver it. When you are performing your staff functions, you perform all of your marketing personally. Now, a lot of marketers will talk about the lifetime value of a client. A lifetime value of a client is not a function of COA, no matter what they tell you. And I will go toe to toe on any marketer on this. Lifetime value, which means how long a client stays with you. Lifetime value is a function of quality, not advertising.
What's COA? Cost of acquisition?
Cost of acquisition or cost of advertising, depending on whether you apply it to a single session or a time period. Okay. And so marketers will say, well, what's the lifetime value of your client? I don't know, but it's not your business because you get me the client. My value as a therapist keeps the client. The lifetime value of a client is a function of quality, meaning your ability as a therapist, not a function of the marketer's ability to attract the client. Do not let them sucker you in to calculating your COA based off of the lifetime value of a client, because you are ripping yourself off if you do. Okay. So use this workshop time to personally design your content. Use the principles of hypnosis to put your audience into a learning state so they will accept the suggestion of your service to solve their pain point. You might want to just write that down verbatim. Use the principles of hypnosis to put your audience into a learning state so they will accept the suggestion of your service to solve their pain point. Good to go on? Okay, moving on. Advertising, again, is the delivery of your content to an audience. When you have no advertising allowance, COA, in your current price point, you perform all of your advertising personally. You use this workshop time to study ways of delivering your content. Once you have COA allowance in your price point, you can spend up to that COA for advertising, but you still spend additional time to personally deliver your content within the time you have during your non-client hours. Okay. Always be directly engaged with your audience because times change. And right now, time change faster than ever before in history. And how, for example, how many of you remember IBM? Yeah, Steve. Yeah. The rest of you are too young to remember IBM. IBM was the business model, international business machines. They dominated everything business in the 60s and the 70s and into the 80s. And by the 90s, they were a byword because they did not keep pace with the internet and they became irrelevant. So always be personally engaged with your audience. So how to study during this workshop. Get on search engines, Facebook, YouTube, research what other people say, but stick with your formulas, okay, the COA. Get on Facebook groups and participate. Ask them marketing service. And what I mean by marketing surveys is when I did commercial leasing, I literally would walk my hefty self around a commercial corridors, walking into every single business saying, hey, who's the owner, who's the manager, who's the general manager? And I would sit there at their counter and talk to them really quickly. Hey, I'm with this company. I'm trying to do a marketing survey for the region. How long have you been here? What do you like about this space? Where would you consider moving to? What's your price point? You know, this type of thing. And I would then know everything about my industry so that when somebody was ready to move, I would know what space was coming available. And I could go, this person goes here, and this person goes here, and this person goes here, and this person's go here. And then I would present all of this entire package to the landlords and say, hey, I got clients, I got tenants for you. And they would say, oh, thanks. And then I would get a commission for every single move. So what I'm doing when I go into Facebook groups and I participate, I ask them, what do you like about whatever you like? I'm engaging with my audience to figure out where their pain points are, to know where my audience is for the greatest density of pain points. You can also go to Google. In fact, not just can, go to Google and search for your service, okay? Act like a normal client. and search for your service, not your specific brand. You're not trying to see if you can find you. This isn't about seeing where you rank on the search engines. This is about what results do you see. Look for a service provider for something close to, but not the same as what you offer. What you see is what your clients see. When you get tired of looking for a provider, so will they. Walk the proverbial mile in their virtual shoes so you know what it is they see, so you know where you need to be, okay? Make sure you show up where you would look for yourself. Identify what stands out to you. Those things are what you want to target. Do you see sites that list providers in your area? Be on those sites. Do you see ranked websites? In other words, SEO, search engine optimization. Okay, great. You want to make sure that you're in there. Do you see Yelp? Be on Yelp. Do you see MapQuest? Be on MapQuest. Do you see other provider identifying sites? What you see as the client, as the potential client, is what your clients will see. Make sure you are on those things. Start with the easy, no cost stuff, okay? Have a website. They are literally free. I pay for my own domain. You do not need to. If you want to, feel free, but make sure that you have at least a website because you can get a website for free. At a minimum, make sure that your brand has a presence on the staple free sites. If you're not on Google My Business, you're wrong, okay? It doesn't cost anything. Just get there. If you are not on Yelp and you would see Yelp as a client, and you're not on there, then you're wrong. Make sure that you get on there. It's free. This is what you do during your marketing workshop on advertising. Now, those staple free locations are where people check to see if you're legit. This is not advertising. This is not even marketing. This is simply hanging out your proverbial shingle to say, hey, I exist. It neither generates nor identifies their interest. Okay? It simply establishes your presence when someone goes to verify your identity. It is literally like a background check and forms the basis for validating confidence in your advertising. This is where people will go to see if you are legit. Make sure that you're there. It's free. You got to be there. Now, after you use up your allotted time for workshops in a given week, spend the remainder of your marketing hours actually delivering your content to your identified highest pain point density audience. That could be a Facebook group. Engage with them. Okay? It could be like, I don't know, if I was a fitness trainer, I would go engage at a local gym. I would go out and actually physically engage with people. I might ask to be a guest speaker at an event. I might go talk to people with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to figure out what my densest pain point population is and go personally engage with that audience. Okay. So before you have a full practice, you spend 20 to 40% of your non-client hours on continuing education, increasing your quality, becoming better at your craft. Your quality as a hypnotherapist is not a function of creating a full practice. That's marketing. Your quality as a hypnotherapist is a function of your price point. It increases the value of your service to your clients. Study and get better, and always work on increasing your value. Never, ever, 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 ever stop working on increasing your value. That's how you get from a full practice at your lowest price point to a full practice at your highest price point. Get better. So here's your priority of your weekly schedule before you have a full practice. Again, this is just a quick review. Direct client hours, indirect client hours, 60 to 80% of your remaining hours in marketing, 20 to 40% of your remaining hours in CE, continuing education, getting better as a therapist. How that actually plays out. Let's say my maximum hours are 50 hours a week, and I have 5 sessions. This is before I have a full practice. I only have 5 clients a week. Maybe you have 1 client a week. Maybe no clients a week. Whatever it is, 5 hours in the sessions, rounding up 0.9 staff hours per session to 5 hours means I'm spending 10 hours in client time, leaving 40 hours. I divide that 40 hours by 60 to 80%, so that's 24 to 32 hours for marketing, leaving me 8 to 16 hours for continuing education. And I do that every week, okay? After I have a full practice, that flips. And I switch from 80% in marketing to continuing education, but it's exactly the same process. So maximum 50 hours a week. I'm now up to 19 sessions and 19 hours of indirect client time, leaving me 7 to 10 hours for continuing education and 2 to 5 hours for marketing. That's after I have a full practice and now working on increasing my price point. After I hit my price break point where I'm no longer doing staff functions, number 2 again is gone because I'm not spending time in staff. And I'm doing first direct client hours and then 80% of my time in CE and 40% in marketing, which then would break down if my desired hours per week is 25, my sessions is 26, 75% of my desired, okay? Continuing education of 5 to 7 hours and marketing of 2 to 4. And then I'm working 25 hours a week, 26 of them with clients. You see in how I calculated those numbers. Okay. So now we have, you need to determine how much of your marketing time is spent in workshops, how much of your marketing time is spent in each workshop, and how much of your marketing time is spent in advertising. So you work on your service for 100% of your hours until it's done. Then you work on your brand for 100% of your hours until it's done. It's a one-time deal, okay? Then you work on identifying your clients, which is pain points, for 100% of your hours until it's done. Then each and every week, once your client's workshop is finished, you divide your time 25% in the remaining 4. You always go back and do a workshop on your audience every week. You always go back and do a workshop on your marketing every week. You always go back and do a workshop on your advertising every week. And you always go back and actually work on delivering your advertising personally every week. Just divide it equally between the 4. Any questions on that? Okay. So now, whenever you drop below a full practice, which will inevitably happen, don't take it personally. Drop down a price point and switch back to 60 to 80% on marketing, starting with revisiting your clients to review your pain points. Because when you drop below a full practice, that means that either you raised your price point above your quality or something in the market changed. You need to either adjust something in your marketing and or get better as a practitioner, but either way, volume before quantity or volume before quality, just like in the beginning. Get back to a full practice, then increase your price point. I have never seen a business fail from growing too slowly. I have seen several businesses fail from growing too quickly. Optimum volume is 75% of your maximum capacity. And if you drop below a full practice, figure out whether it's your quality or your connection to your audience and just work on both. You drop down a price point to match what your previous quality was, and you adjust your marketing starting by revisiting your client's workshop to make sure you're in the dense pain point region. Okay? That's all I got. And I'd love any questions you have. Oh, and also, James and Diana, if you want me to run a business x-ray for you so you have those numbers, I can do that real quick. Sorry, you were breaking up. What was that, Diana? Sorry, I'm not hearing you. Can the rest of you hear her? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Diana. We aren't hearing you.
Not at all. We can't hear anything. At first, it was distorted.
Yeah.
And then stopped.
What about you, James? Do you want a business x-ray real quick?
Yes. I have I have something going on with trying to get a pro bono. Something going on with that. So that's why I've been distracted. I do want you to do that if you can. What does that mean when you say
I'll run it and show you yours.
And also, I was really curious if you could just say, when you talk about pain points, you're just talking about getting more specific with the issues you deal with, right? Like, let's say I'm working on anxiety specifically or something like that. Is that specific enough? Or if I want to deal with, say, like, do you usually recommend getting even more specific? Like,
yes.
I don't know, driving or smoking, maybe.
So I'll re-go over pain points here. So you care about pain points. A pain point is a problem that motivates the individual to want help. And that is really a key word. It's the problem that motivates the individual to want help. So I tell people, you know, and again, I get hit up with marketers 3-4 times a week. And I engage with them because I'm always wanting to get better at marketing. It traditionally has been the weakest part of my game. Now it's a pretty strong part, but I'm always interested in getting better. It's part of that hypnotherapist quality, except, you know, I work in business development as clientele. And so I want to get better and better. This is part of my continuing education. So I meet with marketers regularly all throughout the week. And I tell them my pain point, one of my biggest pain points with marketing is I do not want to pay someone to do work that is only a promise of return to me. I want to be able to tie your compensation to me getting new clients. That's my pain point. Okay. So that's the problem that motivates me to want help. My problem is I don't like the fact that marketers don't tie their compensation to my results. So I am looking for a way to solve that problem. Okay. Now you notice I didn't tell them how to solve the problem. I just told them what the problem was. That's my pain point. Because really, pain points are the reasons that motivate a client to want help, not want your service. So when we define a pain point, it's not why would someone want hypnotherapy? No, the pain point is what's the problem they have. So a pain point is I get nervous driving. Okay. A pain point is I have unresolved grief issues. My pain point is I want to stop smoking. Okay. My pain point is I'm fat, whatever it is, that's the pain point. How your service can help them is not the pain point. Does that make sense?
I understand. So you want to make sure that they, in the hypnotic state you mentioned, are hearing about what you can offer them or why
yes.
they would. And how do you get them into this hypnotic state? And how do you be specific enough? Just like you described right now, like you're specifically mentioning the problem in a way that's simplified, that they would describe it. Nothing too general,
No,
but
no.
I want to feel like I'm accomplishing my goals more effectively. That might work. Something like that could be a pain point.
It could be a pain point, but that's not going to put them into the hypnotic state. So when I say
I understand.
you're in your advertising, you want to put your prospect into a hypnotic state. What I mean is this: I want to draw your attention internally, because at the point where you are focused internally to the exclusion of external stimuli, you are in hypnosis. I tell people that I can teach any second grader how to put anyone in the world into hypnosis in a matter of seconds. Now, they're not very deep, and the second grader wouldn't know what to do with the person once they're in hypnosis. But your value as a hypnotherapist is not your ability to put someone into hypnosis, because that is ridiculously easy. Okay. Now, what your value is another thing. We can talk about that later. But when someone changes their focus from external into internal, they are in hypnosis. So your advertising wants them to imagine, to visualize, to imagine their pain point, so that they are creating in their mind a picture or an image of them experiencing their pain point. Okay. That will put them into hypnosis, because at the point that they are experiencing, they are imagining their pain, that is emotionalizing the event for them. Okay. Once they are focused on their pain point in their imagination and experiencing emotion of the pain of that, then they will be receptive to the suggestion of your service.
And all you're doing is pointing out their pain. You're describing their pain to them, and that causes them to think about it.
Sort of. Okay. So you've heard that stories sell. Okay. You know why? Because it forces people to imagine the event. It literally puts them into hypnosis. Ericksonian metaphor, Ericksonian storytelling, that's literally what you want to do in your advertising. that puts people into an hypnotic state. So when I demonstrated this at a BNI meeting recently, I had a visitor who had had a bad experience with her practice in California, and she was on the ground floor, and 3 stories above, this person had toilets overflowing and it damaged her space. She had the wrong insurance. It was a very painful story. So I had her get up and explain that story, just tell the story. And through the process of her telling the story, everyone in the room was engaged in imagining that event and experiencing through empathy the pain of what they would imagine would be accompanied with, oh my word, I just lost 30 grand of revenue and half my practice and I had the wrong insurance. You've got to be kidding me. Okay. Then without explanation, because I'm simply demonstrating this principle to them, to the BNI group, I had our insurance representative say, and how would you solve that problem, Stuart? Well, this is why I always sit down with a client and review their lease so that they know they have the right insurance. Boom. That's correct advertising. You got the prospect to imagine the event, experience the pain of that pain point, where they want to know, how can I solve this? You get them emotionally engaged to where they're seeking the information. And then, by the way, here's how you solve that.
Oh, and then you describe to them how hypnosis can help them. So you've gotten
Right.
them to experience their pain by describing it to them. Are you going through this kind of problem? If you're experiencing this kind of deal, this kind of issue, hypnosis can help you because
Right.
it's such an effect. It's proven through all this research that it works so well for helping people with issues just like yours.
Right.
Something along those lines.
Right. And you can get better and better at refining that. This is where getting on Facebook groups can be beautiful, because what do people talk about in Facebook groups? Their pain points. It's literally a social griping session. So get on alternative holistic Facebook groups and listen to what their pain points are. And they say, hey, does anyone know about how to solve IBT? I had this issue, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I had that issue too. It was terrible. Let me tell you a story. They're doing your advertising for you. You grab their stories, the one that people most engage with, okay? And you frame it around that. How did they tell that story? What was the content in that story? What would people that everyone was commenting on? What were they commenting about? Okay, great. Then you take that story and you refine it. And you would talk about it, for example, you know, have you ever experienced a time where, boom, and you use those points that people were responding to? And imagine, I mean, can you really imagine going through this and what you'd be feeling? Okay, that's inferred suggestion. In other words, feel this pain, Mr. Prospect, Mrs. Prospect. Can you imagine what this would feel like? An inferred suggestion, okay? Once you get them to visualize that idea and they emotionalize it, they are now into a deep enough state of hypnosis that you can say, now imagine, okay, again, the inferred suggestion, can you imagine the relief you would feel if that went away? Now, for a really beautiful inferred suggestion, you never say, I can help you. You just simply say, now imagine that feeling went away and you had whatever relief they wanted. Call 208-899-3938. It's a beautiful inferred suggestion that doesn't come across as salesy. Call now for your free consultation. I will give you this, everything in the kitchen sink. No, you leave it in an inferred suggestion. It comes across very personal. They've visualized it. They've emotionalized it. They're receptive to the suggestion of calling the number because you have helped them imagine solving their pain point. Does that make sense? Okay. And does that make sense how getting on Facebook groups and listening to people engage with their pain points lets you know who they are, where they now are, how they feel, how they think about it, and how to give them the solution?
So, James, you're not talking about selling to those individuals, but rather learning how people with that problem talk about their problem.
Precisely.
Got it.
Precisely. There you go. So let's get back to give you your business x-ray. What's a good email address for you?
My email, jamesverson@hotmail.com.
And that's HOTMALE.
Yeah, HOTMAIL.
I once went.
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying. I joke about that sometimes. HOTMAL. Yeah,
What's the maximum hours you want to work a week?
I've joked about that. What is that? How many
Maximum
hours?
you want to work a week?
I don't want to start too hard right off the bat, but I'm thinking maybe 20 hours.
Okay, but this is the max hours you're willing to work a week. And this includes your non-client time and the time you spend in marketing and CE.
This is everything altogether,
Yes,
not just sessions.
correct.
Oh, let's say in the beginning, well, I mean, I'm sure I'd be willing to work like 40 hours, but I'm thinking maybe, let's just say 30 to be just in the, just to be safe.
And what is the desired number of hours you want to work a week?
Desired amount of hours?
Right.
I think
Understand that your workload is going to be 75% of that desire because you want that buffer for when life happens.
Okay, so you're saying if I want to work 30 hours, then my workload is actually going to be 75% of that?
Correct.
I'm not working 30 hours then. This is just the maximum. So let's
Correct.
say that I said maximum 35.
Okay.
So then my workload is going to be
and desired is what?
desired would be, I guess, 30 30 hours.
Okay.
Or what is that, 28 or something? I don't know what the math is exactly there, but
Oh, well, we can
27.
It's the same. 26, so we'll round to 27. Good.
Okay.
Okay. And what's your estimated monthly overhead? You can use mine if you want, or if you know what it is, I'll use yours.
It's not that much overhead for business if I'm working mostly Zoom.
Right.
I'm planning on doing mostly just Zoom, so it's not very high at all.
Okay.
Um,
So what do you want me to use?
I don't know, $400. That's a lot, I know, but I'm just gonna just throw it out there.
Mine's 237, and I pay for a lot.
Okay, fine. Then I'll say $150.
150.
Okay.
Let's see what we got. There, I emailed that to you. You'll get the printout. So this is your lowest price point. You can make 30 grand a year at a price point of $34.47 per session. Okay.
That's very cheap. That's like crazy.
It is. And you weren't here for the part that I was setting people up for that, but here's how it grows. Okay.
And how long does that take?
It depends on how fast you fill the practice. How long do you think it would take you to fill a practice at $34 a session?
It'll be a lot faster than, but I'm worried that the people who are paying $34 aren't going to want to go higher. Like once I have them starting at $34, that they're going to be like, no way am I going to start paying 100.
And maybe they would, maybe they won't. That's a matter of how good you are as a therapist. But you really don't care. And the reason you don't care is because as you increase your quality as a therapist, your price point increases accordingly and you attract higher quality clients.
Now, what about starting higher right off the bat? What about starting at like, say something like $100 per, I don't know, even if I was doing $50 an hour, but let's say my session is like 2 hours. Because in the beginning, especially, I'm guessing my sessions are going to be longer. So let's say I want to be able to charge, $200 for a 2-hour session. And I know that sounds maybe like some people are going to say that's cheap. Some people are going to say that's too much. If you base it off of this price point at $34 or whatever, that's going to be like ridiculously expensive. But or even if I did 150 for a 2-hour session, it feels like that would be not too expensive, for the.
So the two questions in there are, do you have the marketing in place that without charging or not paying for any advertising, you would be able to attract enough clients at that price point? That's the question. If you can, you're okay. But if you're not, then how do we know what it is? That's why I recommend you figure out what your base lowest price point is. You fill your practice at that price point, because even then, you figure at $34.47, you're making 30 grand net a year, only working 34 hours a week. Okay. And you're making $17 an hour.
Mhm.
It's very easy to fill a practice at $34 a session.
That's not including outside time I'm spending on. So that's not all just pure sessions, though, right? Because
Correct.
if you're factoring in additional time that I'm putting into research, advertising, or anything else that I might be doing to try to grow the business. So how much am I actually charging the client per session in this case?
$34.47. And you're working 34 hours a week.
How many of those hours are client hours?
75%.
Hmm.
Well, actually, that's not true. But depending on how you look at it, because you have client hours while you're doing the staff functions, you're working the sessions and the staff hours. So for every session that you are engaging with a client, you're working 1.91 hours to perform all the staff functions as well. On top of that, you're also performing your workshops for marketing so that you are filling your practice. So that all of that together equals 34 hours a week, and you're making 30 grand a year.
So what if like I do workshops and they like me, right? They go, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. I taught them I did some group hypnosis on them. They enjoyed it. They're like, I'm guessing those clients that responded the best, the people who went deep, the people who felt some sort of emotional, shift or something out of that group. Those are the people who are going to contact me, the people who already experienced something and or who really enjoyed it or felt like there was a benefit for them. Now, is it unreasonable to expect that person to pay me, say, $75 an hour or maybe even, $65 an hour, like which is about not quite double, but 34. But I mean, would that be unreasonable? I mean, because I'm at that point, I'm marketing to people who responded to me in a positive way.
It wouldn't be unreasonable, but I don't know what your quality is. You might be great quality, but just on an objective basis, I don't know what your quality is. And until you have a full practice with track record, it's very hard to demonstrate that quality without personally engaging them. So
but that's what I mean. If I did engage them, so say that they met me through me doing group hypnosis. So let's say I did free group hypnosis. I'm offering it once a week. Let's say I hypnotized them for something related to confidence. Oh, shoot, I gotta go. Crap.
Oh, sorry.
I have you know what, I'm gonna call this person back. It's confidence related, right? They're feeling great. I'm imagining yourself doing this thing, whatever it might be. Maybe I can get something that's kind of more, let's say it's smoking even. You can even do smoking, but on a group maybe, but like, so they felt like something good. I mean, out of a group of 50 people, maybe there's like 20 people that showed up. I don't know. 5 of those people were like, wow, that was incredible. Maybe 15 of them thought it was great, but like 5 of them thought it was really great. And they reached out to me. They already have some sort of a demonstration of quality, won't they?
Those would, yes. But like for me, I've gotten clients at $150 an hour. I've gotten clients at lower price points. The vast majority of clients that I have gotten are people that I had never contacted at all personally and simply self-booked on my website. And I have a schedule show up and like, oh, who's this? Oh, I've met that person. I guess I'll meet him tomorrow at 2. That's the majority of my clients.
I understand. Yeah, I'm just seeing it as it's such a low price. And what happens if I'm getting say 20 hours a week in clients? I mean, then it becomes hard to survive. But I'm just wondering, how do you how do you also not come off as being not very qualified if you're charging so little? Because if you're charging them 35 bucks a session or an hour, let's say, and they go and they're like, why is this, like, how good can this person be at 35 bucks an hour? Like, can't that act as somewhat of can't that sort of in some ways reduce the effectiveness of your service in some ways?
Yes and no. Yes, on one end, when you're doing when you're marketing for a specific purpose. No, if you're marketing for a different purpose. So if I'm just wanting to fill my practice because I need revenue, I want what is going to give me the most revenue. And revenue, come back over to the presentation. Revenue, there we go. Revenue is a function of price point and volume. Okay, meaning if I have 10 clients at $10 a session, I make $100. Okay, so price point is a function of value, meaning how good I am as a practitioner. Volume is a function of marketing, meaning how well I can connect with my audience. In the beginning of my practice, when I'm filling my practice, I don't have a track record of quality. I don't have a track record of marketing. And so I set my initial price point in direct proportion to my need for immediate income. The more I need immediate income, the lower my price point. Because aside from the factor of value, a high or a lower price attracts a higher volume. And I want a full practice. Once that full practice is in place, I increase my price points. And I don't care if the clients who, let's say I advertise that my target, and that's a different thing. Where is that? There it is. So my target price point is my MSRP. So let's say I want to charge $150 a session. I advertise $150 a session. Right now, 66% off, $35, $50, whatever it is. So I'm offering a discount because that's more attractive in marketing. Understanding that those clients, like the majority of my clients have been smoking cessation and they've been one session quit. Okay, if I'm successful, they might come back to work on other issues, but typically it's, wow, James is awesome. Thank you very much. I'm no longer smoking. And they tell people, which means that they come back in, hey, for 35 bucks, you can stop smoking. Really? Oh, I'll try that. And someone comes and says, yeah, well, for $100, you can stop smoking. So when I'm trying to fill a practice, I want the people that I can get the volume. As soon as I fill that practice, I start increasing the price points and I figure out where that's going to level out. I might be able to increase that price point pretty quickly.
Okay. All right. So you're starting off at a price that's low, but you're doing it as a discount. You're advertising it as a discounted rate.
Yes.
And in the beginning, I can kind of, well, what if I'm doing right now, I'm like just starting out with pro bonos. Is it something you could start trying to do? Setting in this, okay, I get my master hypnotist certification. I start, okay, I'm like, once I fill up, once spots are gone, we're going to start charging $100 per hour. Right now, it's only $34.95 an hour. And that's quit smoking in just in as little as $34.95.
One session and you're done.
Okay, so I can see what you're saying. Now, they already have an idea in their mind that the price is going to go up at some point, probably, or something. Okay.
Remember, with this model, in the beginning, you're planning on replacing every single client because smoking cessation typically is one session and done. But those clients also provide you with great testimonials. Oh, this guy was great. One session, I'm no longer smoking.
Okie dokie. I got a call that's
system, and I have 100% success rate on my smoking cessation clients. No, I've only had 6. Okay, but 6 clients, they've all quit smoking, and they're gladly give me testimonials. So then reviews and testimonials on those free sites. That builds up. So as you're increasing your price points, people go to Yelp. Hey, how is James Burson? Oh man, he's got like 5-star rating off of 35 reviews. And now he's only $50 a session. Oh, that's awesome, man. I'll go try that. You see how you build that. And at the same time, even at your lowest price point, you're netting 30 grand a year.
Yeah, you can also maybe do specials on specific issues. Like if you normally charge a certain amount, you could say special for smoking cessation. This particular issue we're doing a special on, or something like that. Is that a plausible?
As long as you don't offer discounts below your current price point.
Uh-huh. And you think that's not too low though? You wouldn't say maybe start off at a $50, something like that?
Well, with that, so we come back over here. What's your target comp that you want? For a full practice, ignore the price point, because what you care about is the money you take home. Okay. How much money do you want for the year?
80 grand.
Okay. 80 grand to start off your first year as a hypnotherapist?
Maybe by the second.
Okay. So the first year. And really, you're not going to spend a whole year at the price point. You're going to spend a month or two, maybe. So how much do you want to earn the first 2 months as a practicing hypnotherapist?
Well, I'm still building clients in the very beginning, so I'm not even sure. I'd like to.
Doing this, if you do it right, you'll have a full practice within 60 days.
Really? Okay. So people, how do you reach enough people for them to just jump on board on this 30-something bucks a session? How do you reach that level of you're going in guerrilla marketing kind of a lot?
It depends on where your target audience is. So, it depends on the type of person you resonate with, what your specific issues you like to focus on, because it's not about reaching a bunch of people. It's about reaching the smallest amount of people that have the most pain points that you solve. And so, like for me, I did a throwaway campaign. Like literally, it was a throwaway campaign. I didn't really design anything. I basically said, "Hey, I exist." I did not have a website presence anywhere. They could not go and see that I was legit, and I was averaging gaining a client a day. So if I were focused on, I want a full practice, because I wasn't at that point, because I really don't have a personal interest of maintaining a full practice. If I wanted a full practice, I would have refined that over a 2-week period, and I probably would have been averaging at least 3 clients a day, new clients a day.
Now, just sorry, I there's this pro bono. I want to call him back because I'm just getting started. I don't want to miss any right now. You're still offering some help for people who need some mentoring on this on this stuff? Because I'm wondering if I could get started on trying to charge people, even though I'm just getting started on looking for pro bonos. I want to start charging them something. And I would be okay right now, especially with charging the 35 bucks an hour or whatever. I wouldn't want to be charging that much once I'm out of school, but that would give me plenty of time to build it up by the time I'm out of here.
Yes.
So that's something you think would be reasonable for me to be charging that kind of thing right now, and then maybe in the next 6 months, I could boost it up to maybe the 80, 100 or whatever. Something like that would
depends on how good you are as a therapist. I mean, the way I actually essentially now compete with HMI, because I run the American Academy of Integrated Therapies. I put together the hypnotherapy program, and I take on students and teach them hypnotherapy and build a practice for them. It is a 6 to 12 month program, and at the end of it, they graduate with a full practice at a full fee schedule, netting 6 figures. So yeah, absolutely. You do this the right way, and by the time you graduate HMI, you should be at a price point of $100, $150. Absolutely. With a full practice.
So in 6 months, you should be able to get yourself to that point without having to wait till you after you graduate, then start charging people.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. No, I don't know how good you'll be as a therapist. And since
Well-
I'm not directly training you, I don't know. But you know, I think that if you're a half decent therapist, you should, by using this approach, you should be at least at $100 price point with a full practice by the time you graduate, if you start now.
Okay. And you can give me you can, I guess, talk to me as a, like, we can spend an hour or something talking so you could maybe let me know what you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me some
I'll gladly
pointers.
give you one-on-one time.
Okay. I got to run so I can do this thing. I really appreciate all you answering the questions and everything and teaching this class. Hopefully they pick up because they were calling and I want to, it's like my first one kind of, but I want to get something working so that by the time I graduate, I can actually get something, started,
Mhm.
not just barely be starting to find,
Right.
kind of try to find something. Okay. Anyways, thank you so much. I'm just going to mute close off my video for now, and then I'll see we'll see what happens. Thank you so much. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Any other questions?
Great. Really appreciate it.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, this was amazing. Thank you, James.
Thank you. I'm glad that you found it helpful.
So helpful.
Anyone else? I feel weird because I'm looking over here and like my face is going that direction. You all are there, but I can't see you there. I guess I don't have to share my screen anymore. Let me stop that. I'll feel better. There. Now I can put you guys over here and I feel like I'm looking at you. Okay. So not that there's probably much more to cover, but if you have any other questions, I don't have anything else the rest of the night.
Well, this has been terrific. I know that it's opened up a lot in talking to you. It opened up a lot for me.
So good.
It's interesting.
Good. I know it can be not fun material because typically people who like working with clients like working with clients. They don't like doing the other stuff. Even if they know how to do it, they don't like it. So it can be weird. And one of the things that I'm toying with, trying to get in place, is actually working on my own marketing to bring in clients that then I would then sell essentially to therapists. So like Steve, you're an outstanding therapist. And if, you know, I hadn't talked to you about this, so I'm kind of putting you on the spot so you don't have to answer. But the idea being that if I said, hey, Steve, I've got a client, I'll pay you $100 a session to meet with this client, and I just simply schedule the client. Now, whether or not you would accept that, I know a lot of therapists would say, great, give me those all day long.
Yeah, well,
But I'm
that
charging
would mean I don't have any marketing costs.
Correct. And
Yeah,
then
so if I'm making just as much money as I would be making subtracting my marketing costs from someone that I'm charging 150 or 200, then why not?
Right. And that's what I figured.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I don't want to manage that though. I want to teach someone how to do that so that they can manage that funnel. And then all of these students that are coming out of HMI want clients. Okay, if I can give them $100 a session clients, and it's like the pro bono program to them, except instead of pro bono, they're getting paid by me $100 a session. I can't imagine there'd be many that would turn that down. So yeah.
How can I get in? That's my question.
Exactly.
Like, can I join this?
Yeah.
That's great.
It's getting in place, because that's part of what I want to do for the school, for the students that I bring in for the American Academy of Integrated Therapies, is that I start this funnel, but I'm also teaching the students how to do it so that they aren't tied to me if they don't want to be. So
that's great. Good.
Time and priorities, one step at a time. Any other questions?
Yeah, I saw that this was recorded, and of course, I got here late, and I hate that. Yeah. uh, maybe I don't know if I should ask you, James, or you, Michael.
Michael.
Will I be able to see the recording? Is that a possibility?
Yes, the recording will be getting posted in the group as soon as possible. Just depends on workload and how well behaved technology is over the next week. So
Okay.
hopefully we can get
So
it done.
so you say over the next week, so perhaps in a week?
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. I'm gonna head out for the
Welcome.
night.
Thank you.
It's good
And
to
thank
meet you.
Michael. So I don't have anything else for today.
Yeah. Is there no concern of losing people who will judge you as being inferior if you're charging so little? So you get plenty of people who are willing to pay a very small amount, and all of the people who thought, well, geez, I've always paid more for hypnosis than this. This guy must be terrible. I don't want him in my head. And then you lose the bigger money. That doesn't come into this?
Oh, sure. It definitely comes into that. The perspective that I come at it from is right now I need money. I need income. So I'm going to take the most volume at the least price to give me the income that I need. Once I'm there are 325 million people in the US. I might lose 100 by doing too low of a price point, but I'll be able to service 500 in the meantime. And as I increase my price point, I'll be able to reach another however many. And so, yeah, I'd lose the 100, but it's like losing 50 cents to gain $1.
Okay, well, the thing that gives it appeal for me is that, years ago, when I had a practice that I saw 12 people a day, that was so much better an education than anything I had ever learned in a hypnosis training. And as I had mentioned to you, I had 500 testimonials, and I lost them.
Yeah.
So I need testimonials if I'm going to market. So those, so wanting to get back in the swing of things, and, as far as skills and getting some testimonials, it can make sense.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it doesn't appeal, because, that's all I'm worth.
Well, for you, you've been in the industry a lot longer than most of us. And so you might start at a higher price point. It depends on how fast you get clients.
Yeah. Well,
so,
it hasn't been consistent, but I've done, decades of hypnosis.
Yeah.
Not always with the 12 people a day that I was seeing.
Right. And price point is a function of quality. So you have decades of quality behind you. Whereas people just graduating from HMI, maybe they are, maybe they don't. They don't know themselves. And so if they start and I want to have a full practice, and from there I can increase my price point as rapidly as my quality will allow, that gives them a full practice, which gives them confidence, and it gives them a basis of income, and it gives them the testimonials to be able to place in their advertising and use on their website for credibility. And then they can increase that price point very rapidly. Whereas if they right out of the gate try to price themselves too high and they only get 1 or 2 clients a week for 3 months,
yeah,
okay, you've made $300, but you've lost out on 15 grand.
Yeah, I see.
Not to
It's-
mention the confidence that goes with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had mentioned to you that I used to do uh, seminars in small towns
Mm-hmm.
where the room and the advertising were incredibly cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the guy who gave me the idea, he says, "So you charge $10? You know, these people live too far from the bigger cities, so hypnosis seminar never comes to them.
Right.
It's too long a trip to go see a private, but just charge them $10, you'll get plenty of people." Well,
Mm-hmm.
I had a consultant after that, and I told him I was doing it. He said to me, he says, "Who wants a discount hypnotist in their head?" He says, "Now, 39 is the typical price." And he said he did seminars, and he says, "I haven't been able to go above 39 for years, even with inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Something about it psychologically, the numbers of people,
Mm-hmm.
cut down if I go above that, and I make less." He says, "But you can go up to $30. You'll get just as many people."
Mm-hmm.
I did. Just as many people showed up,
Mm-hmm.
and I made 3 times as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why you always increase that price point. Okay, I've got a full practice. Let's increase the price point. Do I still have a full practice? Yes, increase the price point. Do I still? Yes, increase the price point. Oh, no, I don't. Okay, drop it back down. Focus on marketing, increase the volume, get my education so I'm quality. Now I got a full practice again. Great. Increase the price point. Increase the and then you just keep gauging, because you'll go up and down. And as long as you can maintain that full practice, increase your price point through the roof.
Yeah.
And if you do that, and like say you increase your price point, one price point for every week that you have a full practice, you've only got like 15 price points. So in a year, if you will match your quality.
Mm-hmm.
And if your quality is worth $200 a session, you'll get to that $200 session price point in a year.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
You see the wheels turning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just goes so much against the way I've been thinking,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But again, as I said, I want to get real busy,
Mm-hmm.
real fast,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to start collecting testimonials again. And with weight loss,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need before and after pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen before and after pictures where the people look slightly slimmer,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not very impressive. I need people who've lost 100 pounds,
Right.
I want the picture with the big pants. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, for those, what I would recommend for those is your pain points has to be, I need to lose 150 to 200 pounds. Okay. The pain point is not, I want help losing 20 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not going to give it to you. So your pain point is someone who lost 200 pounds. Okay. I'm 200 pounds overweight. Find out where they are, offer, and what I would recommend is offer them a package.
Yeah.
And it's, you work with me and you're going to commit to doing X number of weeks with me. Okay. For that, I'm going to give you a 75% discount on the price, and you don't pay me until after you've lost the weight.
Oh.
In exchange for, I get to use your before and after photos. And you get 5 of those, and you get the results, and you'll have everything you ever need.
So I'm going to ask them to put the money in an escrow account so that they have the money at the end. I mean, how?
You write an agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, say, I will
And
work
then I sue them if they don't pay me. I mean, what?
No.
Yeah.
Because if you choose someone who really has that pain point and they're serious about it, they ain't going to stiff you.
Pardon me?
They aren't going to stiff you. If you get them those types of results,
Mm-hmm.
they are not going to stiff you. They're going to think you are the best thing since sliced bread.
And they love sliced bread.
Very true. No pun intended. Yeah. And honestly, even if one of them stiffs you, who cares? You've got the testimonial and the before and after photo.
If I've got the testimonial in the before
Yeah.
and after photo.
Yeah. And
What if they don't do that? That's
yeah. But if you find 5 people in a row, 5 people at the same time who all stiff you like that, that's obscene.
yeah, that wouldn't be good, would it?
Yeah, that in itself would be a story worth the price of admission. So yeah, I it's a risk. I think it's a bigger risk as walking down the sidewalk and risking getting hit by a car. Could it happen? Sure. Is it likely to happen? Probably not.
Yeah.
So then it's a matter of where do those people exist? Okay. I would say probably like a nursing home. You got lots of people in those type of assisted living facilities that are morbidly overweight. And using hypnosis in conjunction with their personal fitness trainer on their staff to gauge their physical fitness level, you drop someone 200 pounds in a year at that type of facility. Oh yeah, that'll be a testimonial and a half.
I knew a woman. There was a woman who would beg in the subways that I would see 10 years ago, and she was in a wheelchair. She was capable of walking, but she was so heavy that it was, too much.
Yeah.
Took too much energy.
Yeah.
So she would just, she'd roll around and beg and so on. And she was very nice. And I offered her free hypnosis, and she didn't show up for the session. So over and over, she was going to do it, and I guess she was scared of hypnosis. I couldn't
She
bring
probably
her.
had multiple issues, and that was probably affecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how that works, I'm not sure. And for those, I've had those, and I just okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go ahead and charge them anyway if they didn't show. But there have been some where I think that their problem is legit, and I've said, hey, look, I'm going to refund your money to you because I think at this point in your life, that's going to be a bigger impact on you. I mean, it's not a whole lot of money, but that may help you more than whatever else you're trying to deal with. So, I've done that with not many. But
I'm not clear on what you're saying. Refund money. I talked about this woman I was going to do free sessions for. She was afraid to show up. So how did we get to refunding money?
Oh, well,
what did I miss?
With the way that I do some clients, they prepay.
Right.
So that, and then if they she prepaid. And I said, hey, look, I understand your situation. You're dealing with that stuff. I think that, right now with everything that you're dealing with, the money's probably going to help you more than the hypnotherapy at the moment. So I refunded her money, and, even though she was a no-show. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely a believer. If I'm working with weight loss on a paid in advance program, if after 3 sessions they've lost nothing, I give them a refund and say goodbye. Yeah, in a very nice way. It's just, I don't want, first of all, I don't want to take money from anyone I'm not helping. And secondly, I don't want people out there saying, can you imagine what I spent? And I got nothing from it. That's that's not good marketing.
Right. Right. Well, Lauren, Michael, anything for me? Steve and I could chat all night.
Well, Lauren, Michael, that should be tomorrow night. Saturday Night Live.
There we go.
The producer is Lauren Michael.
Oh. There we go. Sorry, you were saying, Michael?
Yeah, I was just saying that was all very, very good stuff, and You've actually given me a lot of stuff to think about in my business because I was doing a lot of stuff backwards. So I'll be reworking a lot of stuff. But
Okay.
it's a busy weekend ahead. So yeah,
Great.
thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Anything else before I let you go?
Nope. Think
Good
that was
night,
good.
everyone.
Thanks very much,
All right.
James.
We'll talk to y'all
Thank
later.
you. Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Well,